Netflix has been quietly taking down some of its most interesting titles, leaving many viewers frustrated and unsure what to watch next. If you're tired of endless scrolling and want something genuinely worth your time, you're in the right place. Today we're digging into Netflix's treasure chest of hidden gems, movies that came out strong but never quite got the spotlight they deserved. In fact, some of these might disappear before you realize how amazing they truly are. So stick around, because you're about to discover a list of Netflix originals that are not only better than their overhyped blockbusters, but might just remind you why you fell in love with streaming in the first place. From heart-pounding sci-fi thrillers to mind-bending mysteries and haunting true stories, these films cover a wide spectrum of genres, yet every single one has that spark of originality that made Netflix stand out when it first began launching original programming. We're talking about movies that introduced new ideas, took risks, and showcased bold storytelling, only to be buried by massive marketing campaigns for the more advertised big-name titles. Each of these picks has something special. Maybe it's a brilliant performance by an underrated lead, or a uniquely twisted plot that leaves you contemplating life well after the credits roll. So get comfortable, because we're diving headfirst into a world of warlords, supernatural forces, psychological traps, and real-life conspiracies. By the time we're done, you'll have a jam-packed watch list of flicks that are guaranteed to keep your eyes glued to the screen. Welcome to Screen Scramble. Let's dive in. SPECTRAL, 2016. Imagine a gritty, boots-on-the-ground military action film that suddenly collides with a supernatural threat no one can explain. That's the central premise of SPECTRAL, a movie often described as Black Hawk Down meets Ghosts. It might sound like a bizarre mashup, but from the moment this film starts, you realize how effortlessly it blends intense, tactical combat with a mysterious, otherworldly menace. The story follows a special ops team dispatched to an Eastern European city where soldiers have been dropping like flies. There's a strange presence on the battlefield, one that standard weapons can't seem to touch. As the squad teams up with a brilliant engineer to uncover what's behind these seemingly invisible attackers, the movie morphs into a suspenseful riddle. You'll find yourself as curious as the characters to figure out if these enemies are supernatural, a product of experimental tech, or something else entirely. What sets SPECTRAL apart is its crisp, polished cinematography and genuinely clever concepts. The action scenes are grounded in military realism, yet they're laced with a compelling sci-fi twist. You feel a jolt of adrenaline as soldiers scramble to adapt to a threat they can't see and barely understand. There's also an unexpected emotional core, showing how soldiers cope when traditional combat tactics fail. SPECTRAL manages to be both thrilling and thoughtful, something few action-heavy movies accomplish. Despite its cinematic quality, it flew under the radar and didn't get the marketing push it deserved. If you're craving an intense, imaginative film that merges realistic combat with supernatural intrigue, SPECTRAL is a perfect place to start. But that's only the beginning of this list. Beasts of No Nation, 2015. Long before Netflix started pouring millions into big-budget productions, it launched its original film lineup with a brutal yet brilliant drama called Beasts of No Nation. Even today, it remains one of the most powerful war films on the platform, and one of the finest they've ever produced. The movie stars Idris Elba as a chillingly believable warlord who recruits child soldiers into his ruthless militia. That premise alone is tough to swallow, but the execution will leave you breathless. Director Cary Joji Fukunaga, known for his work on one of the greatest episodes of television ever made, True Detective Season 1, brings intense visual storytelling to this film. The cinematography plunges you into a war-torn African nation through the eyes of a young boy named Agu. As the violence escalates, so does the emotional weight. You witness the horrifying transformation of children forced into unimaginable acts, and the camera never flinches from the grim realities of armed conflict. Despite its stark subject matter, Beasts of No Nation is a testament to true filmmaking craft. It's harrowing, often disturbing, but also a stunning achievement that glues your attention to the screen. Idris Elba delivers one of the most riveting performances of his career, commanding each scene with a terrifying charisma that leaves you uneasy long after the credits roll. This was a bold move by Netflix, a declaration that they could produce cinema with the same emotional heft as any major studio. If you appreciate films that handle weighty topics with depth and artistry, Beasts of No Nation is an essential watch. Just be prepared to confront some painful truths. Still, Netflix's journey into risky storytelling didn't end there. ICARUS, 2017. Sometimes real life is more shocking than fiction. ICARUS began as a personal documentary project about doping in professional cycling, but it quickly morphed into one of the most explosive real-life exposés in modern sports history. Filmmaker Brian Fogel initially set out to prove how easy it was to cheat at cycling competitions. He planned to get on a doping regimen and document its impact on his performance. That plan took a radical turn when he crossed paths with a Russian scientist named Grigory Rodchenkov. Before long, Fogel found himself entangled in a dangerous scandal that reached the highest levels of international sports. Rodchenkov was the man behind a massive state-run doping operation in Russia, something that would eventually become a worldwide controversy. ICARUS isn't just about performance-enhancing substances, it's a front-row seat to a real conspiracy so brazen it could be mistaken for a spy thriller. You watch, mouth open, as the stakes rise and global sports organizations scramble to contain the fallout. What makes ICARUS unforgettable is the sense of escalation. Fogel and Rodchenkov become unlikely allies, and soon you're worried for their safety. As new revelations surface, you realize just how deep the deception goes. The film's latter half feels like you're witnessing a historic event unfold in real time. It's rare to see a documentary that captures a developing scandal with this much tension, but ICARUS pulls it off masterfully. This isn't just one of Netflix's best documentaries, it's one of the best documentaries of the last decade, period. After seeing it, you'll never look at global sports competitions the same way again. But shocking revelations aren't limited to real-life stories. Sometimes high-octane action can be just as jaw-dropping. The Night Comes for Us, 2018. If you thought the Raid films were intense, The Night Comes for Us is here to test your limits. Directed by Timo Tchajanto and featuring some of the same cast from The Raid, this movie is an unrelenting, hyper-violent masterpiece that's not for the faint of heart. The basic premise revolves around an elite enforcer who decides to defect from a ruthless crime syndicate, only to be hunted down by armies of killers. But the story is almost secondary to the relentless, bone-crunching action. From the moment the first fight scene explodes onto the screen, The Night Comes for Us barely lets you catch your breath. Fists fly, machetes swing, and bodies crash through furniture in a flurry of carefully choreographed mayhem. Yet it's more than just wild violence. Each battle feels creatively staged, with inventive camera angles that put you right in the thick of the chaos. The film's stunt work and practical effects are jaw-dropping, as if you're watching a group of superhumans who feel every cut and bruise and blow, but never stop fighting. What sets this movie apart is the near-horror quality of its gore. When someone is slashed with a blade, it's portrayed with intense realism, pushing the boundaries of what you might expect from a mainstream action film. Despite the brutality, there's genuine craftsmanship here. The tension is gripping, and the choreography is brilliant, showcasing martial arts prowess at its finest. If you're an action enthusiast who can handle a high level of carnage, The Night Comes for Us will leave you buzzing, possibly even reeling from start to finish. Of course, not all dark tales rely on non-stop violence. Sometimes mystery and dread can be just as captivating. Hold the Dark, 2018. Some movies cast an eerie spell that grips you from the opening frames and doesn't let go. Hold the Dark is one of those. It begins innocently enough: a remote Alaskan village, a missing child, and a wolf expert summoned to track the creature that may be responsible. But as the expert ventures into the freezing wilderness, it becomes clear that something much more sinister is at play. Secrets swirl through the icy air, hinting at an ancient darkness lurking just out of sight. Directed by Jeremy Saulnier, known for his brutal and atmospheric films like Green Room, Hold the Dark carries a grim tone that intensifies with each passing minute. The tension isn't driven by jump scares, it's the oppressive atmosphere and lingering questions that keep you on edge. As the story unfolds, you realize that no one is truly safe from the enigmatic forces at work. Strange events and cryptic interactions lead you down a winding path that challenges your ideas about nature, humanity, and evil. Be warned, Hold the Dark is a slow burn. It takes its time revealing the truth, and even then, you might find yourself unsure of what just happened. But for those who enjoy dissecting a film's deeper layers, it offers plenty to chew on. When the violence does erupt, it's raw, quick, and shocking, punctuating long stretches of brooding silence. This is the kind of movie that invites endless theories and interpretations, making it a unique entry among Netflix's darker offerings. If you crave a film that immerses you in a cold, haunting landscape and leaves you pondering long after the credits, Hold the Dark deserves your undivided attention. Speaking of enthralling journeys, sometimes a well-crafted time loop can twist your mind in all the right ways. Ark 2016. Ever wished for a head-spinning sci-fi adventure that keeps you guessing from start to finish? Ark might be the hidden gem you've been searching for. It's set in a near-future world where energy is scarce, and warring factions fight desperately for survival. The movie begins with the protagonist waking up under siege, only to discover that time is looping in such a way that any failure resets the day. Think Groundhog Day, but stripped of its comedic flair and injected with serious, high-stakes tension. Despite being low budget, Ark flexes its creativity in every scene. The action unfolds almost entirely in a single location, a fortified house. Inside the house, a strange machine in the basement seems to be causing the temporal rift. Every time the characters die or fail in their mission, the loop resets, and they must scramble to figure out who to trust and how to escape the time cycle. The result is a fast-paced narrative that tests your puzzle-solving instincts right alongside the characters. What makes Ark so compelling is how each reset reveals a sliver of new information. Characters who seem friend one loop might be foe the next, and the technology driving this phenomenon holds secrets that could change the world. The film's claustrophobic setting amplifies the tension, proving that a clever concept can outshine any budget constraints. If you enjoy a good mindbender that refuses to let you get comfortable, Ark will keep you on your toes from start to finish. But intense action doesn't always have to involve complex sci-fi devices. Sometimes all you need is a car, a driver, and a desperate situation. Wheelman 2017. If you're in the mood for a raw, suspenseful thriller that never takes its foot off the gas, Wheelman is the perfect ride. Frank Grillo stars as a getaway driver who suddenly finds himself trapped in a heist gone wrong. Normally, we'd follow the driver through city streets, see him ditch the car, and get entangled in side plots. Wheelman flips the script. The movie keeps you inside the vehicle, practically making you a silent passenger who experiences every pulse-pounding moment up close. From the opening scene, Wheelman wastes no time plunging you into danger. Our driver is given cryptic phone calls instructing him to abandon his crew mid-robbery. He doesn't know who's giving the orders or why. One wrong move could mean a hail of bullets, jail time, or worse. Every minute that passes adds to the tension, leaving you glued to the screen, waiting for the next twist. You can't look away because the discomfort is so expertly crafted. Frank Grillo's performance cements the film's authenticity. You can almost feel his pulse racing as he swerves through traffic, barking urgent commands into his phone while trying to keep his family safe on the sidelines. The cinematography works wonders, employing dashboard cams, side window angles, and tight framing to put you squarely in the driver's seat. Unlike many action flicks that rely on explosions and elaborate set pieces, Wheelman proves that minimalism can be just as thrilling. If you want a night of white-knuckle suspense, buckle up and hit play. Now, if you prefer more supernatural threats, fear not. Our next film blends horror and heartbreak in a way few zombie tales manage. Cargo 2017. Zombie movies often deliver jump scares and hordes of the undead, but Cargo offers something different. A slow-burning, emotional survival story that hits you right in the heart. Set in the rugged Australian outback, it follows Martin Freeman as a father desperately searching for a safe haven for his infant daughter. The twist? He's already been bitten and knows he has only a short time before he turns into one of the infected. From the outset, Cargo pushes the urgency to maximum levels. Freeman's character, Andy, treks across deserted landscapes with his baby strapped to his back. With each passing hour, his strength wanes, and the infection creeps closer to his mind. The world building is stark and merciless. Highways littered with abandoned cars, dusty roads leading to nowhere, and an eerie silence broken only by distant growls. But beneath the bleak setting lies a remarkable story of hope, family, and sacrifice. Andy's fatherly determination resonates strongly, elevating Cargo above typical zombie fare. The supporting characters, including Indigenous Australians with their own survival methods, add cultural depth to the narrative. You'll find yourself torn between the gloom of a post-apocalyptic world and the sparks of humanity fighting to keep love alive. What truly stands out is the film's pacing. It doesn't rely on huge set pieces. Instead, it builds dread through quiet moments, showing how isolation can be just as terrifying as a swarm of the undead. When danger does strike, it feels all the more real because you've grown attached to Andy and his precious Cargo. If you're seeking a zombie film with soul, Cargo is bound to leave an imprint. Then again, if your nightmares run more towards psychological horror, we've got a Stephen King adaptation up next that's sure to keep you glued to the screen. Gerald's Game, 2017. Few predicaments are more chilling than literally being trapped. Gerald's Game, based on Stephen King's novel, takes that concept to the extreme. A couple retreats to a secluded lake house, hoping to rekindle their relationship. Things take a sudden turn when Gerald handcuffs his wife, Jessie, to the bed, and then collapses from a heart attack, leaving Jessie alone, unable to free herself, and miles away from anyone who could help. The entire story largely unfolds in that bedroom. You might think such a contained setting would grow stale, but under the direction of Mike Flanagan, who later brought us The Haunting of Hill House and Midnight Mass, it becomes a riveting psychological battle. Jessie's mind starts playing tricks on her, memories resurface, figures drift in and out of the shadows, and an eerie presence known as the Moonlight Man may or may not be real. Intense flashbacks and Jessie's own internal monologue fill out the rest of the narrative, unveiling long-buried traumas. The genius of Gerald's Game lies in how it combines physical helplessness with deep psychological terror. As you watch Jessie struggle for survival, you're confronted with the emotional chains that have also bound her for years. Some scenes are deeply uncomfortable to watch, especially if you're squeamish. There's one moment in particular that has become infamous for its sheer cringe factor. Yet it all serves a purpose, highlighting human resilience in the face of both external and internal demons. When credits roll, you'll be left pondering the thin line between reality and delusion, and how easily past traumas can resurface when we're trapped with nothing but our thoughts. It's a slow-burning masterpiece of suspense, arguably one of the best King adaptations in modern times. But Netflix's exploration of human conflict isn't limited to nightmares in a locked room. Sometimes, historical battles can yield stories just as captivating. The Siege at JADOTVILLE, 2016. Netflix's war dramas rarely reach the same level of global recognition as big-screen blockbusters, but The Siege at JADOTVILLE quietly became one of its finest. Based on real events that took place in the Congo during 1961, the film centers on a small contingent of Irish UN peacekeepers stationed at a remote outpost. Led by Commandant Pat Quinlan, played by Jamie Dornan, these 100 men find themselves surrounded by thousands of enemy troops, cut off from support, and in the crosshairs of international politics. Despite being drastically outnumbered, Quinlan and his men hold their ground in a battle that defies the odds. What makes the siege at JADOTVILLE stand out is that it isn't just about bullets and bombs. Yes, you get tense action sequences that capture the claustrophobic feel of a besieged garrison, but the deeper intrigue lies in how these soldiers were effectively abandoned by higher-ups who were juggling diplomatic negotiations, betrayals, deals made behind closed doors, and the harsh reality of fighting a war with minimal supplies. These elements paint a grim portrait of how politics can overshadow lives on the front line. The cinematography and set design are surprisingly immersive for a film that didn't get a massive Hollywood budget. You feel the scorching heat, the dust, and the palpable fear. Jamie Dornan's portrayal of Pat Quinlan highlights a leader determined to protect his men at all costs, even when he realizes they're expendable pawns in a larger geopolitical game. If you enjoy military dramas based on true stories, ones that focus as much on moral dilemmas as on the crackle of gunfire, you owe it to yourself to watch The Siege at JADOTVILLE. But not all conflicts are fought on the battlefield. Some unfold in the real streets and courtrooms with equally devastating effects. 22nd July, 2018. When a film reconstructs a tragedy as harrowing as Norway's deadliest terror attack, it carries a tremendous weight. 22nd July, directed by Paul Greengrass, doesn't shy away from showing the shocking violence of that day in 2011. A bomb in Oslo and a mass shooting on the island of Utoya left 77 people dead, but the movie goes further than merely depicting the atrocity. It delves into the survivors' trauma, the legal aftermath, and the questions a nation must confront when hate rears its head so violently. The film unfolds in several acts. First, you see the terror itself, told with unflinching realism. Then, there's the immediate aftermath. Families in agony, survivors in hospitals, and the authorities scrambling for answers. Finally, the story shifts to the courtroom, offering a painstaking look at how a country tries to administer justice in the face of unspeakable acts. Throughout it all, we follow one young survivor's path to recovery as he grapples with life-changing injuries boundaries, and the loss of friends. 22nd July is not an easy watch, but it's a profoundly human film. It beckons the questions. How does a society cope with an attacker who wants media attention for his twisted ideologies? Should his name even be spoken, or does that grant him the notoriety he craves? Through carefully constructed dialogue and poignant performances, 22nd July captures the delicate balance between transparency and giving a platform to hatred. This film is lengthy, over 2 hours, and feels like a comprehensive chronicle rather than a single snapshot in time. You might feel emotionally drained by the end, but you'll also gain insight into the resilience of a community determined to stand against extremism. It's a sobering reminder that real-life horrors can eclipse any fictional scenario. Up next, though, we pivot from grim reality to outlandish comedy, proving Netflix's range knows no bounds. The Package. 2018. From Norway's most devastating day, we jump to one of the most irreverent comedies you'll find on Netflix. The Package is a raunchy, absurd adventure that stands out for its sheer audacity. The premise is simple yet shocking. A group of teens goes camping. One of them accidentally severs his, manhood. He's airlifted to a hospital, but the cooler containing his severed part is left behind. Now his panicked friends must race against time through the wilderness to deliver the package before it's too late. Yes, it's as wild as it sounds. But there's something about the over-the-top premise that taps into that Workaholics brand of humor. No surprise, since it comes from some of the same creators. The jokes are crass, the situation's ridiculous, yet it all carries a surprisingly heartfelt undercurrent about friendship and responsibility. The cast leans into the chaos, delivering comedic timing that consistently lands, as well as a few gross-out moments that might make you squirm. Though the film's tone could have turned off viewers seeking something more refined, the package knows exactly what it is, a ridiculous romp. Beneath the slapstick veneer, it celebrates loyal bonds and the lengths to which friends will go to save one another, even in the most humiliating circumstances. If you enjoy humor that's unafraid to be silly and a little shocking, this movie will have you laughing out loud. And if that's not your style, it's at least a refreshing palate cleanser amidst heavier fare. Now let's drift back into the shadows for a different kind of dark tale, a slow-burning atmospheric horror from the director of The Raid. Apostle. 2018. Gareth Evans made his name with The Raid, an intense, hyper-violent martial arts action film. So when he tackled folk horror in Apostle, many wondered how his signature style would translate to a completely different genre. The result is a grim, unsettling movie that explores cult dynamics, supernatural folklore, and the horrifying consequences of blind devotion. Set in the early 1900s, the story follows a man named Thomas Richardson who infiltrates a remote island cult in search of his kidnapped sister. From the moment Thomas arrives on the island, a sense of dread pervades every scene. The villagers seem devout, but their leader has secrets buried deeper than anyone suspects. Strange rituals, eerie visions, and a malevolent force lurking just beyond comprehension blend to create a tapestry of nightmares. Evans's flair for visual storytelling is evident in the film's punishing violence. When it happens, it hits hard, but also in the slow, methodical tension that builds throughout. Unlike a straightforward action flick, Apostle demands patience. It rewards viewers who relish uncovering layers of lore and symbolism. There's a distinctly Lovecraftian quality to the island's mystery, hinting that something ancient and powerful is being worshipped there. As Thomas edges closer to the truth, the film takes some truly shocking turns. The final act escalates into a crescendo of madness that's as visually arresting as it is horrifying. While Apostle might not be to everyone's taste, it's grim, lengthy, and unflinching. It stands as a testament to Netflix's willingness to take risks on ambitious genre projects. If you like your horror steeped in dark mythos, and you're not afraid of visceral imagery, Apostle is a journey worth taking. Now, for a change of pace, let's move to a movie that balances crime, comedy, and an offbeat sense of humor in a delightfully weird way. I don't feel at home in this world anymore. 2017. Sometimes you just reach a breaking point with society's everyday injustices. That's exactly what happens to Ruth, played by Melanie Lynskey. After her home is burglarized, she's fed up with the constant feeling that people around her are selfish and unkind. She teams up with her eccentric neighbor, played by Elijah Wood, to track down her stolen belongings. What starts as a low-key quest quickly spirals into a bizarre criminal underworld, complete with offbeat antagonists chaos and a sense of looming danger. Part Coen Brothers style dark comedy and part crime caper, I don't feel at home in this world anymore, is peppered with cringeworthy laughter and surprising moments of brutality. Elijah Wood's character is a weapons enthusiast who's socially awkward but fiercely loyal to Ruth's cause. Their odd chemistry propels the story through situations that are by turns hilarious, discomfort-inducing, and downright menacing. Yet beneath the quirk, the film carries a weighty observation on the frustrations of modern life. Ruth isn't trying to save the world, she just wants people to be decent. This modest goal thrusts her into a chaotic series of encounters that make you question how far an ordinary person might go once they've been pushed too far. Whether you're laughing at the absurdity or wincing at the carnage, you'll find it hard to tear your eyes away. Director Macon Blair, known for his work with Jeremy Saulnier, crafts a film that refuses to be pinned down by a single genre. It's comedic, it's grim, it's surprisingly heartfelt in places, and it's an excellent example of the creative freedom Netflix once offered its filmmakers. If you ever feel like the world is losing its kindness, this movie taps into that feeling in the most unexpected way. If you are still craving more of a psychosomatic climate, our next recommendation is a bleak, slow-burn psychological horror that explores themes of guilt, consequence, and the descent into madness. 1922-2017. Set in the dusty heartland of rural America, 1922 is a gothic slow burn that crawls under your skin and refuses to leave. Adapted from a Stephen King novella, the film revolves around Wilfred James, Thomas Jane, a farmer who conspires to commit a terrible act, one that festers and brings dire consequences far beyond what he anticipates. Fueled by greed and resentment toward his wife, Wilfred's choice becomes a curse that haunts every waking moment. The brilliance of 1922 lies in its atmosphere. The farm itself feels alive, its creaking floorboards and rustling cornfields echoing Wilfred's growing guilt. Rats scuttle ominously in the shadows as if drawn to the stench of moral decay. Thomas Jane delivers a performance that's both transformation and revelation. His portrayal of Wilfred is unrecognizable, a grizzled man whose haunted eyes and gravelly drawl immerse you in the desperation of 1920s rural life. As time passes, Wilfred's world unravels in a series of eerie encounters and psychological torment. The movie moves at a deliberate pace, allowing dread to accumulate until it becomes suffocating. Much like King's other works, 1922 blurs the lines between supernatural punishment and the power of a guilty conscience. Is Wilfred truly haunted by ghosts, or is it the weight of his sin driving him mad? If you're drawn to stories that trade jump scares for lingering, psychological fear, 1922 is a must-watch. It's a film that thrives on the slow, agonizing buildup of regret, making every shadow on the wall or scuttling rat seem like a manifestation of Wilfred's deepening guilt. Sometimes the darkest horrors are the ones we bring on ourselves. But if you'd rather see a more structured puzzle unraveling in reverse, our final entry is all about stepping backward through a crime to reveal the shocking truth. Shimmer Lake, 2017. The final entry on this list is a cleverly structured crime thriller that practically begs for multiple viewings. Shimmer Lake opens with a bang, a small town heist, a dead body, and a sheriff hot on the trail of suspects who might be closer to him than he'd like. But here's the catch. The story unfolds in reverse. Each new day we see is actually the day before the last scene, peeling back layers of deception one step at a time. It's reminiscent of Memento, but Shimmer Lake sets itself apart with a darkly comic tone. The cast, featuring familiar faces like Benjamin Walker and Rainn Wilson, delivers performances that oscillate between tense and oddly humorous. Each backward jump reveals motives and mishaps that look totally different the first time around. You'll discover that characters you trusted had hidden agendas, and the simplest scenes hide intricate secrets. Because of its reverse chronology, Shimmer Lake demands your full attention. Details you might dismiss initially become crucial clues when viewed in the right order. By the final sequence, you'll have that satisfying aha moment, realizing how all the puzzle pieces fit together. It's a gratifying wrap-up that doesn't undermine the film's complexity. Though it's not as flashy as some Netflix original thrillers, Shimmer Lake packs a punch for viewers who enjoy narratives that play with structure. It's an underrated gem that proves Netflix can still champion innovative storytelling. After this winding journey through supernatural military clashes, child soldier dramas, twisted comedies, and reverse time mysteries, it's time to bring this exploration of overlooked Netflix originals to a close, though hopefully not an end to your curiosity. For reasons we'll never quite understand, these masterpieces of cinema never seem to rise above Netflix's cluttered homepage. From the grim chaos of The Night Comes for Us to the emotional intensity of Beasts of No Nation, these titles showcase this streaming giant's potential to back innovative and daring storytelling. Some of these films might shock you, while others will keep you guessing until the very last frame. Either way, they all deserve a place on your watch list before they vanish into the streaming void. Did we miss another hidden gem that deserves the spotlight? Jump into the comments and let us know. Your recommendations might lead someone else to discover a new favorite. And if you love delving into lesser known films, don't forget to hit subscribe. There's a lot more where this came from. Netflix is a treasure map, and we're only scratching the surface of its secret stash. Until next time, thanks for watching. Scrambled out.